Alright, welcome back to another exciting episode of Terre Haute North Band's Quarantine Edition. No, but seriously, hope everybody's still doing well. Today we're going to try to go over flat key signatures. What are the orders of flats? How do those help us find key signatures? How can that help us if I'm trying to figure out major scales or things of that nature? So, first thing we're going to remember is we went over in another previous video about major scales. So whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And that worked to find major scales, but it's also kind of tedious in going through that and looking through the half steps and whole steps on our keyboard or thinking about it on our instrument. So what's another way that we can do that? Well, one of the easier ways is to know our order of flats and then to be able to use that to our advantage. So I'm going to do this in treble clef to begin with, and I'll do one in bass clef in a while, so don't worry out there. But here's our key signature. Okay? So first thing you would notice if you see this key signature is that all the flats tend to stay in the staff. That's how our key signature works. Actually, to be honest, the first thing you would notice is, oh dear God, I hope I don't have to play in this, and I would be with you on that one. But don't worry, most of the time we're not in there. The other thing that we could notice is that there's an order to these flats. The order goes like this. B, E, A, D, G, C, and F. Now again, if I would have written it in bass clef, same exact order. Just did it treble clef for E's today. Okay? So there's our order of flats. Easy way to remember this is the first four letters spell out a word, bead. The second one, I loved math growing up. I still like math. I don't know how many of you all like math or not, but here's a way to remember it. Bead, greatest common flat. That's right, greatest common flat, not factor, flat. Okay, bead, greatest common flat. So what this is going to tell us is that anytime we have flats in a key signature, they will always, 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 forever and ever, let it be so, it was written on the third tab with that Moses drop coming down from the mountain, be in that order. Always be in that order. Okay, so if I have three flats in my key signature, I know those three flats are going to be B, E, and A every time. If I look at my key signature and there's one flat, it's going to be B, 100% guaranteed. Okay, so how does that help me with scales? Well, let's figure out this way. In the scale video we did, we showed C scale. C is easy, no flats, no sharps. We don't really need this. Okay, but what if I have something like A flat major? A flat major. Now I'm thinking, okay, whole, whole, half, and I can go through that entire process, which was outlined in that video. Perfect. I'll find that scale, no problem. Or there's a little quicker way to do that. Okay, so you're gonna find A flat. Okay, if I know my order of flats, I can use this little shortcut to find the key. I point to A flat. Okay. The next thing I do is I play hangman. If you remember that game of hangman where you draw the little guy hanging and you try to figure out what the words were. Okay, so I'm going to play hangman by looping over to the right one letter and come back across. That's going to give me all of the flats that are in the key signature of A flat major. So that's going to loop over and show me there are four flats in A flat major. B, E, A, and D. Four flats. Okay? Every time this will work. So for instance, let's take another one. Let's take G flat major. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to think about when I do this again is I'm going to look and go, does it have flats in the key? Yes. How do I know it has flats in the key? It's named G flat. Okay? If it's named G flat, it's got flat in the name, there are flats in the keys. There are two exceptions. One we already talked about, C, no flats, no sharps. Okay? And two, which I guess that's really not an exception, but the real exception is F. F major has one flat. We'll get to that in a second. But G flat major. Okay, so I know it has flats in the name. So I'm going to point to G. Point it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loop back and hangman it in. So now I know that in G flat major there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flats. B, E, A, D, G, C. All 6 flats. And that's how finding a flat key signature works if you're given the key. Okay, so if I'm given the name of the scale, G flat, find it, hangman back 1, done. I can find how many flats. Let's talk about, well, I've got it here, F. F doesn't work in our little formula. Okay, because if I point to F way down here, there's nothing to loop back to. Some people can say you can loop back over to here, but that gets confusing. Just memorize it. I'm asking you to memorize 2 key signatures. C, no flats, no sharps, and F, 1 flat. Think you can do it. Okay? So again, hopefully that makes sense on finding the number of flats if I know the name of the key. Now, what if I'm going the other direction and the only thing that I have is the key signature? So for instance, and while I'm drawing, it's time for another one of Mr. Williams' great and wonderful jokes. Due to the coronavirus quarantine, I shall now only be talking or telling inside jokes. Okay? So, I have a flat key signature. Okay? Not a sharp one. Flat one. B. Okay? Bass clef. For bass clef readers, but even if you don't read bass clef, you should still know what those are, because they come in the same order every time. You know there's 3 of them. So I know, if I know my order of flats, those 3 flats are B, E, and A flat. Okay? And I'll just write out the rest of the flats. Okay? They're all my flats. So now, I'm given the key signature, but I don't know what scale this is. Okay? Start with what we know. I know it's a flat key signature. Why do I know it's flat key signature? They're flats. Okay? So it's going to be something flat major scale. Okay? If I go in reverse of what I did, where if I knew the name of the key, which was to play hangman and loop, I can still find this. Here's my last one, is A. That would be my loop. Okay? So how far back did I loop? I looped back 1 note. So now I go back to 1 note that's pointing to the key of E flat major. Okay? If I went the other way, hangman, E flat. Find it, loop back, 3 flats. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? Another thing that some of you probably have picked up on is that that's the next to last flat in the key signature. So the other thing I can do is look and go B, E, A, E flat major. Okay, let's do one more. Just to make 100% sure you got it, we'll do one more. Okay, so let's go. Alright, so even you treble clef readers out there, you still know what flats those are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 flats. What are they? Right, B, E, A, D, G, flat. B, E, A, D, and G. Okay? So let's start with what we know. I know I'm in a flat key, because I got flats in the key signature. Easy peasy. Okay? I know my loop method would work. So I come here. G was my last one. That's where I'm looping. Okay? Then I remember I looped back 1 to point to it, to draw my hangman. So I'm in the key of D flat major. I also can do this method of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. D flat is the next to last flat. That's my key. Either one of those systems work, guys. Okay? So the cool thing about this now is that when you're given those dreaded scale tests and you're asked, do you have to play your A flat major scale? You don't have to go through whole half to figure that out. You can simply do the hangman method for flat scales. Figure it out. Now I know at least what flats are in that scale. It doesn't necessarily help you play it. You still got to play the scale, but at least you know what notes you're going to have to play going into that. Okay? Hope this helps. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. Mr. McLeod or I will try our best to get back to you as soon as we can. All right, great guys. Have a good one.